Hey guys, I just got done with an amazing interview with Caleb Max. And if you've ever been impressed by a younger person and they kind of just blow you away with who they are, what they've done, and kind of what they see their future is, then you're going to love this episode because that's Caleb Max. He is an entrepreneur. He's a small business owner in Loudoun County, and he's a candidate for the U.S. Congress, the 10th district right here in Virginia. It's a fun interview. You're going to hear a lot about his life growing up and then his business and what he's doing now. But honestly, it has inspired me to be a better guy, to work harder and to go after the things that I feel passionate about and those kind of dreams that I have for my life. And so if you need a little pick me up, if you need a little emotional caffeine, stay tuned because you're going to love this episode of Enjoy Loudoun. Hey guys, welcome to the Enjoy Loudoun podcast. I'm Ryan Clegg, your host, and this is where we interview local Loudoun celebrities. We hear about their lives, we hear about their businesses, and we hear about what they are up to. And today we've got a really, really special guest, Caleb Max. He's one of my good friends, has become one of my good friends. And it's just fun to have you on. You are going places and the future is very bright for you. And we want the world to know about who you are, what you're about, and what you're up to. So thank you for being on the show with us today.
Absolutely. Well, Loudoun celebrities, that's a first. So I don't know if I put myself there yet, but we'll take it. But I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, I do. And on this show, whose opinion else matters?
That's right.
Right?
That's right. It's your show. It's your world.
My show. So
I'm living it.
In my eyes, you are. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about you and growing up. You grew up in Loudoun County, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us a little about your family, siblings, parents, and what childhood was like living in Loudoun County.
Absolutely. So I grew up right here in Loudoun County. I moved here when I was 8 years old. I was in Fairfax up until 8 years old. Moved out here. My parents, as a lot of people do, want to escape the city craziness and expand out a little bit. So we bought a 5 acre. They bought a 5 acre property and really, that was a life-changing moment for me moving out to Loudoun because I started homeschooling. My mom homeschooled me and my 3 sisters, Sarah, Becca, and Hannah. And the best part about homeschooling is you get real-world experiences and challenges, and instead of just everything being in a textbook, you go outside, you learn things. And so my mother, from literally once we moved out, she saw that I had an immediate interest in just being outdoors and cutting the grass and weed whacking. And so she let me, do my homework early in the morning and go out and just spend a lot of time outside. So, like I said, I moved here when I was 8. And so at about 10 years old, being Western Loudoun, there's still a lot of farms and sheep and cattle and everything else. I really wanted to do something with animals and livestock. And of course, my parents, even though we moved out to the country, were city people.
Yeah.
So they weren't about to go get me a big dairy cow or something. So I finally convinced my parents to let me get 6 chickens. So we went to Southern States and we got 6 chickens. But the deal was, you've got to take care of them. It's your project. You build the coop. You do the whole thing. And so that's what we did. So I had 6 chickens. I planted a big old garden. It was like 100 feet by 50 feet. I did tomatoes and green beans and everything you can imagine under the sun. Zucchinis. We have huge zucchinis, as people who garden in Loudoun know. The soil here is great. It used to be the breadbasket of the South. So Loudoun County, the soil here is known to be exceptional. So I had all this, this product, and I would actually sell it at the end of my driveway to neighbors passing by. And that was the first lesson I learned in business was when I stood down there at the end of the driveway, I would have decent sales. But when I sent my 2 little sisters down there, who were very cute, and they would wave, and everybody. If a dozen eggs costs $5, someone would throw a $20 bill down and say, keep the change. So over the years, I built that. I had at one point I had 100 sheep, 50 goats.
Oh my goodness!
It kind of got crazy for a little bit. It was like the zoo in the backyard.
Yeah.
But I quickly found out farming's not easy. It's very tough to make money farming, even on a small scale. And so I started doing mowing and mulching and cutting up trees and basically anything. People would let hire me for, mostly all my neighbors, and so. So
wait, I'm gonna stop you there. So because I know where you're headed with this.
Yeah.
But I want to get a little bit more detail.
Sure.
So, how old were you when you had your chickens? You're selling eggs. You're selling produce. You've got the sheep. How old are you at this point?
That was 9, 10, and 11. So we had Yeah, it was like at one point it was like 100 chickens. 'Cause I started gathering the chickens. The sheep were, I mean, at any time at one given time, probably had like 55 total. But over those 3 years, I had about 100 because I was breeding them, and I was showing them at the county fair. So yeah, it was 9, 10, and 11 when I was really Farmer Max.
So, 10 years ago, when you're 10 years from now, when you're interviewed on, some real station, they're going to be able to get, like, point back, and there's this like entrepreneur like spirit has always been in you. And you hear that with like other like major celebrities. These guys are like, oh yeah, I was selling t-shirts door to door. Like that's you.
Right.
That's
Well,
you.
and I thought it was so fascinating is you'd raise these chickens, you'd give them grain, you'd give them water, and they would just produce a product that you could then go box up and sell. And it blew my mind. It just excited me so much. And every day I'd go out and count the eggs and see where our production was. And it just felt very real. And that's why farming it kind of gets you back to your roots. It's like the most rudimentary level of business, right? Is just, making a product and then selling it to people. And yeah, so that's really where I got my entrepreneurship, kind of gene, if you will.
Yeah. All right. So you grew up with 3 sisters. We're going to get a little personal right now.
Sure.
I've got 4 daughters. What did you learn about growing up with sisters that might help me raise 4 daughters? Is there anything?
Well, so I'll say for the brothers out there, having 3 sisters is great because they teach you like how to, it kind of gives you insight into the kind of the female mind and how they think about different things you say and act and dress. Yes. And at a young age, when they'd say, okay, when you do that, you're so weird and people don't like it. It's like, okay, yeah, you're my sister. You probably think that. But going on later in life, I really learned to appreciate that. And I think it helped me a lot with how I interact with everybody. I've always been able to, get along with a wide range of people. I think my sisters helped me with that, and being sensitive and everything else. And it was always fun, making fun of boyfriends and everything else when they come, bring them around and everything else.
It does help you have a more sensitive, compassionate, caring heart when you're around, a lot of women like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's helped. So
it has,
he's a tough, rugged farmer, and he's a compassionate, sensitive
brother. That's right.
Brother. So very cool. Very cool. All right. And your parents, tell us a little bit about them.
So my parents, they met at Wheaton College in Illinois.
Oh, no way.
And that's actually where all 3 of my sisters have attended college. One's graduated, 2 are still in school there. I was not smart enough in the family to go to Wheaton. They call it the Harvard of Christian schools. Yeah. My dad does, of course he went there. I just didn't want to be in the cold weather. But so they met at Wheaton College. They dated for 5 years, got married.
Okay.
I'm the oldest, of course. And they came here to DC, and my dad was working on the Hill for a senator, and my mother was a teacher, and they found that there was a massive need for better education in our inner cities, specifically in Washington, D.C. And so they banded together with like 8 other Hill staffers who were all working on education policy under Newt Gingrich to kind of figure out how do we, revamp education in our inner cities. And my dad's very much so a doer, and so are some of his friends, and that, I feel the same way. So he was like, we're talking about education policy. Let's just go start a school in the city and prove that it can be done. And so that's literally what they did, and that was about 28 years ago. My dad served as the board. At one point, he was working at a foundation, and there was a job change, and so he actually went back and was the principal of the school. And my mother was the director of education for 10 years, and so they commuted all the way from Loudoun into DC, Southeast DC, and my dad raised all the money, and he didn't have an education background, but he has a huge heart for the inner city and the children that are struggling down there, and so my parents are just they're superheroes.
Yeah,
I don't know how they did it. And my mother was homeschooling me and my 3 sisters while running the education for 220 students. It was a lot. It was a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
it gives me chills. It's cool. Really
cool.
Cool.
It's just crazy every time I think about it.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's amazing that you had that role model and a vision of what it is to be a doer, not just someone who's like, hey, these are problems. Let's whine about these problems. Let's, talk about with our neighbors and friends. But like, hey, there's a problem. Maybe we're the solution.
Right.
Let's do it.
Right.
And gosh, can you imagine what our world would be like if
everyone picked up
it up
and their graduation rate, the average graduation rate in the city is about 18% for high school. My parents' school had 82% graduation rate. And most of those students went on to go to college. So they accomplished a lot of things and proved that model works in the cities. So, but yeah, they had to go out. Someone had to go out and do it. And I commend them for doing it.
That's awesome. That's super stuff, man. All right. Well, let's transition now into your business. So that's when we first met. It was a referral from my in-laws, and we were looking for someone to kind of take care of our property. And they said, well, our guy's awesome. You need to talk to Caleb. So I reached out to you, and sure enough, I don't know if you remember that.
I do. Yeah.
And then you've just been serving us so well. Your company has for a long time. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the landscaping business and what the company's like.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, once I realized that I wasn't going to make millions selling eggs at the end of my driveway, I realized, it was time to branch out. And so I started mowing grass. Literally, I just drove down roads with a zero turn, my dad's zero turn, and a weed whacker across my lap and a blower on my back. I looked crazy, and it always worried my mom. She was sure I was going to get hit by a bus or a truck coming over a hill, especially in some of these back roads. But my dad's like, hey, he's got to go out and learn how to do it. And so I went out, and it really just expanded. By the time I was 15, I was probably mowing about 45 lawns a week, and I was doing mulching, everything else. And then by 16. I remember I sat down with my dad kind of at the end of the year. I had a binder that I would just kind of keep all my, almost like a QuickBooks system, like accounting system, very rudimentary, all the money I was making and who owed me. And that was kind of my books at the end of the year. And so every year I would sit down and figure out how much I made. And my goal was always to double what I made the year before. And I remember I sat down with my dad when I was 16 and the number was very large. And my dad goes, you got to start paying taxes. Like this is a real business. Like, this is a lot of money. And, and he also started to realize there was more trucks showing up and trailers and equipment and people. And so at 16, I incorporated and we got insurance and LLC and all the rest. And then so by 18, I had about 15 full-time employees, about $500,000 in sales. And every year it just kept doubling. And it's really a testament, to the area. Everyone has, very gorgeous houses, as you did, and they're very busy. They commute, and so someone's got to take care of the lawn. And so that's what we did.
That's awesome. That's just a lot for a young guy to handle, and you were just doing it, and it wasn't like, let me think about doing it. It was just like, I'm going to do it, and then when I come to a bend in the road, I'll figure that out too. And then I'll figure the next thing out. But it never stopped you from just going.
Right. Like well, and I remember, I'll never forget. I was about 18. I was about to graduate, and my parents sat me down. I thought I had done something wrong. I came home. It was just like everyone's a little song. I was like, oh my gosh, like I did something. And it'd been a long day. Again, I would wake up. Literally, I'd wake up. At the time, I was taking classes at Nova from 5:30 to 7:30. So I'd wake up and I would do the 2 hours drive all the way into Nova, do 2 hours of classes, and I'd come back out and work all day. And my parents sat me down and they said, Caleb, we're worried you're going to burn out, that you're going to have a midlife crisis at 20. They said, I hope you don't have to, have 10 employees and do this big business. Like, you don't feel like we're pushing you to do this. I said, no, I love it, right? Like, it's just exciting. And those challenges where there was a lot of times where, I didn't know how to do something, but I'll tell you, this is a testament to Loudoun, just the whole 10th district. Every time I had an issue come up, whether it was a truck that wouldn't run or a mower that wouldn't start or a tree that was dying at someone's property I didn't know how to fix, I would just reach out to different people in the community. And they would they loved that I was a young person. They loved that I was working hard. And they would be like, hey, you know what? Your brakes in your truck are bad, but tell you what, why don't you come after hours and we'll do those brakes together and I'll teach you. So next time you can do it yourself. And or the nursery would come in and say, hey, why don't you come to one of my bigger jobs and I'll show you where this is wrong. Or my banker say, here's how we're going to do your finances. Or a accountant saying, let me give you some free accounting to show how. And people just really invested back in me. And a lot of these people were folks I'd worked with or otherwise. But the community really, they say it takes a village. Well, a village really helped me, build my business and use those connections. And that's so important in entrepreneurship is you're never going to know how to do everything, but you've got to know how to be, the middle of that universe and pull all the help from everywhere else. But I love that feeling of like, okay, man, I'm a little in over my head. And usually I'd give my guys, like, okay, we're a little over our head. But as long as we did everything with the best intentions, and if we messed up, we owned it, then people were okay to take a chance on us.
Gosh, there's so much in there that I love. I mean, it's that there is a lot of good in people, and there's people want to be help and service. People want to come alongside and guide other people into a better life and help them maybe where they wish that they had help when they were younger, you know, and just the decency of people. You know, recently we've seen a lot and we go, has decency left? Everyone around me, you know? And what you're saying is no, you know, at the heart of it, if you turn off the TV and shut down Instagram and, you know, lock all the Twitter feeds away and you just talk to your neighbor or the mechanic or the banker or whatever, you're like, I'm surrounded by good, hardworking Americans, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like so much of that isn't perpetuated in the media that we get to watch, but your experience was, gosh, there's a lot of good people out there just looking to help.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Not just looking to make a buck. Not just looking to take advantage. But
100%. Yeah. And these were people from all religious backgrounds, all political backgrounds. But they appreciated that I was genuinely curious. I asked questions. I didn't like to act like I knew. I literally came and said, you know, can you help me with this? I had a neighbor that was a veterinarian. He would give all my veterinary work for free for all my goats and my sheep. And but again, his thing was he was like, I'm never going to do it for you. So if you have a goat that's having trouble in pregnancy, you're the one pulling that kid out. You know, because again, the whole idea is you got to learn, you know, how to solve the problem the next time.
Yeah.
And it was really dozens of people that taught me all different areas of the different business and life and how it works. That even some of my biggest competition that would basically say, hey, like this is where I was at that time, and here's how you solve that problem. Yeah. And now so these are some of my best friends, you know.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna transition again.
Sure.
Your life now has taken another turn, where you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I conquer this? So why don't you tell people what you're up to now?
So I've decided to run for U.S. Congress here in the 10th District. It wasn't an easy decision because, you know, again, politics and the business can be a little dirty. And really, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I like to create things. I like to work for myself. But when I see what's happening in our communities around the world, but also even here locally, it worries me. And, you know, I think we need people that are willing to take on big challenges and solve issues, you know, head on. And so it's always easier to say, well, if somebody else will, you know, step up and do this, I'll keep passing the baton. But at a certain point, someone's got to pick it up and run with it, right?
Yeah.
And so I really felt, you know, that this was something I was being called to do. You know, again, I'm a business guy, but at heart, I have a servant, you know, service to the community. And one of the best ways to do that, of course, is public office.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Again, just a bold move, a courageous move, and I know you're gonna do well, and you're just gonna figure it out, and you're gonna make it work. Has there anyone inspired you in this political kind of aspiration?
Yeah, so I was very blessed to have my grandfather, Frank Wolf, who was a longtime congressman from the 10th District. So he got elected in 1980. He first ran for Congress in 1976. Of course, that was well before I was even a twinkle in an eye. Yeah. But you know, I'll never forget. I was about 19 years old, and I'd taken a gap year in between, you know, high school, and I was debating if I was going to go to college or not. I remember, again, I was taking those classes at Nova early in the morning. My granddad called me the night before. He said, "Hey, after you get out of class tomorrow morning, come by the house." And they lived about 20 minutes up the road from there. I said, okay. I could just tell something. Again, it was like one of those things where he was going to tell me something. I didn't know, again, what I had done or what. So anyway, I go over, I do class, I get back to their house about 7:30. My grandmother makes pancakes. You know, we have nice breakfast and everything. And then my granddad goes, "Hey, put your shoes on. We're going on a walk." All right, let's go on a walk. So we're walking down by his pond. And he said, "You know, Caleb, you know, you're hard work. You've built a great business. You're going to school, but you know, what does your life do for, you know, the kind of the common good, or for the you know, really the kingdom of God, right? Like, who are you serving? And do you think that maybe you're called to do something more than just mow grass?" And there's nothing wrong with mowing grass. And he said, maybe you are called to run this landscape company the rest of your life. But is there something else that you feel like you want to do? And as soon as he said it, I was like, yes, there are. But again, sometimes it's so easy to just get caught in day to day and for what you're working on right now. Yep. And so I said, I do think there's people I need to be helping and bigger things I can do. And so he said, all right, well, then go to college. I said, okay. So that night I applied to 10 schools. I went to Covenant College in Georgia, and I came back, transferred to George Mason University, where I went and got an American government degree. But my granddad really instilled in me that idea of service and who you're helping. And he was revered for his work on international religious freedom, and human rights. He was known for just being a stalwart and going where nobody else would when challenges were great. And he always said, when there's a famine around the world or a big national crisis, it's so easy just to sit in Washington or wherever and kind of act like that problem's never happening. And so he was famous for when there was a crisis, he would just go. He would just go and see it firsthand. And so at one point in 1984, there's a piece that ran in the Washington Post. There's a famine happening in Yemen. My granddad literally went and he spent 3 days in this camp. And again, when congressmen go travel places, usually it's a big affair and there's, media and press and nice hotels and cars. My granddad would just get a plane ticket. He wouldn't tell the speaker's office. He would just get on a plane and go. And he'd show up and say, hey, I'm Frank Wolf, I'm a U.S. congressman. Show me the situation. And this is what happened in Yemen. And we got back, and he did this big press conference and everything else. And the Washington Post ran a story that said, what's a congressman from Virginia doing where bullets fly and babies starve? And it had him holding and it really kind of blew the lid on what you can do from, the seat of Congress, to extend religious freedom and human rights around the world. Yeah. And so, I just, having grown up around that, it's big shoes to follow. Yeah. and when I go and I'm talking to people in the district, and the stories of people come and say, your granddad helped me in 1993 do this and get my mother into the country, or fix the road, or we had a big issue. Sometimes it's even just like a zoning thing, or something more minute, and sometimes it's huge, like he got my father into John Hopkins to get surgery on his kidney, or it's just like the most crazy stories, but he always did things with who am I helping, and when he said he was going to help, making sure he actually did.
That's powerful, man. Every time I kind of mention that, everybody has fond memories of your father and your grandfather in his service, and that is the legacy that you're going to follow,
Lord
right?
willing.
And it's like, as just that idea of like that servant's heart, just get up and go, do what's needed when it's needed, and make the biggest impact that I can. You aren't just going to warm a seat, and just enjoy, a position of prominence. You are going to work your tail off. Well, let me ask you this: as being in the, Lord willing, U.S. Congress, what are the things that you're going to learn from your early days as a farmer that you can take into that will translate into you doing an amazing job for the people of the 10th district?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. So my slogan is country, community, and common sense. Caleb Max for Congress. There's the plug right there.
There it is. Yeah.
So when I think of country, I think of, what are we doing to protect the homeland? What are we doing to whether it's secure our borders or bring back manufacturing and it's a cliche, but freedom isn't free. We have it so good here in this country, and frankly, as somebody who again grew up in a affluent area and had a grandfather in U.S. Congress, and I don't even know the pains of what most of the world experiences. And it's actually so distant from us that we feel numb to it. I think that's an issue that, even in the poorest people in our country will still have cell phones and shoes. And, we've been so blessed here in the United States. But how do we preserve that freedom here? Part of that is being strong around the world. We see dictators on the move. We see what's happening in Ukraine with Putin, and just the torture and the rape. And we see what's happening in China, where they've literally rounded up and have imprisoned 3 million Uyghur Muslims. I have friends who are Uyghurs who, some of them are Loudoun business owners, the large Uyghur community here, who haven't heard from brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles in 5 years. They've been disappeared. Nobody talks about it. You think about what happened in Afghanistan. We have a huge Afghan population here, with the pullout and all the people who are now being imprisoned by the Taliban. We have to be a strong nation in order to preserve liberty, not only here, but it is important because when we leave a void around the world, bad actors and dictators fill it. So we got to do that. Secondly is our communities. as I mentioned, I really feel like this community helped raise me and make the man I am, and hopefully the congressman I will be. How do we invest in our small businesses? So I've signed the front and backs of paychecks. I know what it's like to balance a budget. I know what it's like to meet a payroll. I mean, it can be tough sometimes. We need more people in Congress who have had those experiences. Most people, the biggest companies in the country, Walmart and Amazon, only hire a couple million people. There's 380 million people in this country. Most people work for small businesses or themselves. We've got to make it as easy as possible for people to create businesses, to operate those businesses, and to make those businesses succeed. 1 million closed after the pandemic. Yeah, and this obviously, this podcast talks a lot about small businesses. They're so important to our communities. Yep. Secondly, our education system. We've got to give them the best possible education to our children, and most importantly, feeling like they're protected and safe when they're in the schools, free from indoctrination. We've got to protect our education system. And in our churches, I believe religious freedom is under assault. I mean, how crazy is it that we were in a nation where literally they could tell us how many people can show up to Sunday service, or a mosque on a Friday, especially in times of great, struggling that we had during the pandemic. People need to be in community, right? They need to be around the people that they go to. I believe religious freedom is under assault in this country, so that goes to our communities, and then common sense. We're $30 trillion in debt in this nation, and we just hit $30 trillion about 5 weeks ago. By 2028, that number will balloon to almost $80 trillion by the time you factor in all of our promises and unpaid, balances and everything else, Medicare and Medicaid. A nation can't survive under this kind of debt pressure. A family couldn't survive under that debt pressure. If a child is born today in the United States, he inherits $137,000 share, he or she, of the national debt. The average taxpayer owes $267,000 in taxes to the federal government. We are crushing with this national debt. I mean, and it is an issue. And it's an issue that both parties have failed on for a long time, right? You can't just be fiscally responsible when it's politically beneficial. And so I understand as a business owner the importance of, again, balancing a budget, getting back to common sense. We got to do that in this country. And those three things. There's a book I just read. It's called America's Expiration Date. I read it right at the end of last year. And it talks about the 3 reasons that great nations fail is militarily overextended. They fight wars on too many fronts. There's significant moral decline, and people stop talking and communicating and working together. And then oversized public debt. Those are the 3 things: country, community, common sense. Those are the 3 things that we're seeing in this country. And our 250-year anniversary, 250 years is where the average that great nations failed: the British, the Romans, the Egyptians. Our 250-year anniversary is July 4th, 2026. It's right around the corner. And so we've actually got to have a decision. We see these things happening. What does the next 250 years look like in this country?
Yep. Obviously, it's not popular to talk about, right? But we have history to look back, and we can go, this is what happened here. This is what happened here. This is what happened here. Hey, we had the benefit of seeing that and changing course. How is the American people, how are they going to change course? Because it's going to be a sacrifice.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to do it.
Right.
What is it going to take for people to go, I will sacrifice now for the benefits of my kids, my kids' kids, and this great country, which provides not only freedom to us, but freedom to a lot of others around the world. How do we get our eyes off of us to really serve the greater good?
Well, I think it starts with, again, kind of like what I was talking about, is we don't realize how good we have it here.
Yeah.
And the 10th district is actually a 45% minority district. We have tons of first generation residents from Indian communities and Muslim communities and Latino communities who come from nations where they didn't have as good of a system. I had a guy come up to me the other day, a gentleman who came from Afghanistan, and he said, "Isn't it so crazy when he's a plumber? He started a plumbing business. He said, Caleb, isn't it so crazy that when we put money in the bank account, that's there in the morning?" And he said that to me. When he said, I said no, but then I thought, again, where he came from, he couldn't rely on that, right?
Yeah.
And so we've got to learn from the lessons that people around us who have seen what happens when governments and nations run amok, and learn from them and take those lessons back into our country here. And so I that's why I love talking to those communities. Show us and they understand. You don't have to preach to them what happens when it goes bad.
Yep.
So we got to bring them in and have them help.
And in your district, there are a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people who understand where they've come from, have blessing that it is to be in this country, and they want to keep it that way.
Exactly.
And so, voting for you is one step into keeping it that
Hopefully.
way.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right. So we're gonna kind of end things here in a bit. But people have had a chance to know you a little bit. We've had some fun talking about your childhood and kind of what you're up to now. But if people wanted to know who really who is Caleb Max, what would be the 3 words that you would kind of go, what, in a nutshell, this is who I am?
Mm-hmm. It's a tough question. It's always hard to look introspectively. Well, first, I'd say I'm a very driven person. I believe it's good to set goals for yourself and want to accomplish those.
Yep.
And you have to be disciplined and driven in order to accomplish things. And that can be in any avenue of life, whether it's faith, or it's business, entrepreneurship, politics. You've got to set goals and hope to meet them. And frankly, one of my favorite quotes is Steve Nash. He says, "I'm uncomfortable being comfortable." If you are comfortable, you're probably not pushing yourself, which means you're not growing, right?
Yep.
And so it's good to feel a little bit out on your skates, like things are a little out of, not too out of control, but a little bit, because that's growth, right?
Yep.
And I think we need to get there. So
driven.
Secondly, I'm ferociously optimistic. I love. I'm not glass half full. I'm glass overflowing, right?
Yeah.
Like I always want to see the bright side of a situation, even when things are very tough and bleak. And I think especially right now when we talk about, you turn on the news, it's all doom and gloom, and this is how bad everything's gotten, that we have a sense of optimism. Like, where is the shining light, right? Like where, and of course, as an evangelical Christian, I believe it's in Jesus Christ first and foremost. But secondly, in folks who, believe in what can be, right? And then lastly, I'd say, trying to be somebody who is of deep moral character. And that's something that my grandfather taught me. It's something I learned in business. People have to be able to depend on you, right?
Yep.
And sometimes the truth hurts, and it's not fun, telling it like it is. And especially as politicians, when you go around and everybody wants to hear, they want to hear what they want to hear, so you want to give it to them, right? But you have to give them the truth, right? You can't go one place and tell someone one thing, and the next place another. And we're coming up on times in this country where the truth matters, and honesty matters, and character matters, and you have to fall back on those principles when times get tough. And so, again, I fall short every day, but I try to be someone of deep moral character, so that way people can depend on me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. 3 great characteristics for someone that's going as a candidate for the U.S. Congress. Because seriously, I know things. Just as when you're landscaping our property, and I remember something, was damaged, and your guys, it was you actually, called and said, "Hey, this is what happened." So even at, I probably wouldn't have known about it, maybe for weeks, even months. I might have never known about it. But at the risk of hurting, maybe financially, you were responsible for something, you did the right thing. You told the truth, and you said, "Hey, regardless of whether this hurts me or my bottom line or whatever else, or maybe my, employee, the truth is the truth, and I need to speak that, even if it hurts me as a person. It's more important. I'm serving this homeowner and his house, and it's my responsibility, and the truth is more important than me. Their needs are more important than my needs. And as a public servant, that's what it is. You were serving those in the public. And so candidates who can't do that, who are focused on themselves and doing whatever serves them best, is what we're used to on our political landscape. And so someone that says, "Hey, of the 3 things you need to know about me, just moral integrity is important," that says an awful lot. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Really do.
Absolutely.
All right, this is the fire round. This is where we kind of end things really quickly. I have a lot of fun, and I learn different places in the area that I like to go try.
Yeah.
All right, so here it is. What are your favorite things in Loudoun County? Fire round, real quick. What is your favorite restaurant to go to?
My favorite restaurant is definitely Monk's Barbecue in Percival. Fantastic, and they've got it now at Flying Ace too. So go out to Flying Ace and you get it there as well. Just great barbecue, falls right off the bone. Love it.
So good. We were there, and someone had came from Falls Church just to come to Monk's to grab dinner and take it back to his family. So people all over the state of Virginia love Monk's.
That's right.
All right. What about a social hangout? Where do you go to see friends and hang out?
So I love Two Silos over in Warrenton. But
yeah.
I mean, we've got such a great agritourism industry
Yep.
out here in Loudoun County, whether it's our wineries, our breweries, Bear Chase,
Yeah.
I mean, we just got so many great spots to be outdoors and have a nice drink and see friends and have a fire. And so,
Love
I mean,
it.
they're crisscross districts. So pretty much any of those breweries or wineries, you can probably catch.
So shout out to Two Silos. I've never been. This is probably like the 5th time someone said they love that place. So I definitely need to get there some weekend soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. What annual event, event that happens every year in Loudoun County that you just no miss, you love to go to?
So the event that I will never miss is definitely the Loudoun County Fair.
Oh yeah.
And of course, being a 4-H'er and having the goats and everything. And actually, if you go to Loudoun County Fair, in one of the barns, the show barn in 2018 was I was the grand champion goat. It says my name. Very proud of it. Actually, it was in 2016. I think it was a while ago. It was a while ago, but. At any rate, very proud of that. But no, the Loudoun Fair, and we have the Blue Mountain Fair and the Water Fair. I mean, we've got all these little fairs that kind of get back to our, there's not a whole lot of farms out here, but there's still some. Go see the cattle and watch the rodeo, and it's fun.
Yeah, I love that. I do love that. And Loudoun County, wasn't it? It was like the dairy capital of Virginia or the East Coast. I mean, most people's milk from New Jersey to North Carolina came from Loudoun County.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. It's great for the kids. June, July. Don't miss it.
Don't miss it. All right, love it. Shopping. This might be a weird one for you. I don't see you doing a lot of shopping. But is there a place that you go when you need to shop for something?
So, I mean, I don't do a whole lot of shopping, but I will say this, especially on the campaign trail, I spent a lot of time. Like yesterday, we were in Rappahannock, in Washington, the little village of Washington, and we go to Warrenton and downtown. I love the little downtowns and small businesses, and I like little knickknacks. I'll buy little, pictures of usually it's something political, a famous figure, or and so little antique shops and basically all those little small businesses. I mean, I could name a dozen of them that I just love. So.
Well, there are so many treasures of old historic downtowns that we're seeing revitalized.
100%.
And it's great to have your suburbs. But it's also great to keep that kind of old town city center alive.
It is.
That's cool. Very cool. All right, outdoor activity.
Well, so I still raise cattle, so I love to be outside feeding my cattle hay and feed and everything. I also, my sisters, every year at Thanksgiving, we either do the Harper's Ferry hike or we go to Old Rag.
Okay.
Harper's Ferry is just out the district, but of course Old Rag is in the district, so we love that. But we got so many great hiking, and it's 30 minutes down the road.
Hiking.
So,
I haven't hiked Old Rag in a lot of years, so I need to do that with my family.
Last time I did, it was a little tough. I didn't know if I was going to make it. It was a little bit of a wake-up call.
Oh, man, I know.
Start working out
I was
again.
probably 20 when I did it, so it's
a little bit of climbing.
Older than that now.
Exactly.
Can I start halfway up the mountain? Anyway, all right. Where have you not been yet that you want to go?
Yeah. So again, just because I was just in Rappahannock, it's very prevalent in my mind. We've got the Inn of Little Washington.
Oh yeah,
which is I believe a 3-star Michelin, 2-star Michelin. I mean,
it's Michelin rated.
Michelin rated,
it is.
Yeah. Which I only know because I like to watch Gordon Ramsay reruns. Okay. if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't appreciate it. But we were out there, and I just kind of peeked in as we were walking downtown, and I saw the kitchen. I was like, this is amazing. So I've heard crazy stories and everything else, and so I got to try that at some point. So
me too. That's Well, when you win, we'll go to celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been so fun. And I've known you for a long time, but there's things that I learned about you too, which even give me more respect for you than I did before, which is pretty awesome. If people want to find you, Facebook, Instagram, email, whatever you want to share, how can people find you?
So my website is max4virginia.com. You can find out more about me, my policies, all that kind of stuff.
Could you donate there?
You can donate there as well. Yes, if you're willing to donate, we'll take your money. I got social medias, Caleb Max VA10 on all Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Caleb Max VA10.
VA10, yep.
Okay.
So you can follow me online there. And then I'll just plug real quick. May 21st is the primary. It's coming up. It's on a Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's not your normal voting location, so... for some people it will be. For some people, only 3 locations in Loudoun County, 11 across the district. So all that information is on my website, again, maxforvirginia.com. So mark your calendar, and hopefully I can earn your vote. And we got a lot of great candidates, so it's a ranked choice. So if I'm not your favorite, make me your second favorite. But hopefully I earn that first vote.
Yeah. Make him your first and make the other guy your
second.
Here. That's fine too. Well, very cool. Any last things you want to say before we head out?
Nope. I'll plug real quick. Atoka and Ryan has been my real estate agent on my first home sale, and he's helped me. And he's also if I had a Salesman of the Year award, it would usually go to you because you reference so many people to my business, and so hopefully a few people have come back to you as well. But Ryan Clegg for all your real estate needs.
Come on, there
That's
you
right.
go. I love that. We did not put him up to that.
I didn't get paid for that.
I did not get paid for that. No, man. Like you, working hard, doing a good job, and it really is caring about people, and then those people care for you, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's all about relationships. Mm-hmm. And so you learn that, your landscaping business, and you know that about running for Congress. It's about relationships, about people. Mm-hmm. I was commenting before the show just about seeing your Instagram, and you were out there meeting with everyone in their shops, on the street, at a bigger,
like
venue.
Events,
And it's like, it's the people. I got to meet the people. It's the relationships with the people. Mm-hmm. You came in here and there's a guy that you're like, I think I know him. And you went right up to him and met the people. And so Caleb Max, a man of the people. But it is. Life's all about relationships. And I've loved having a relationship with you, and I can't see where it goes.
Oh, I know.
Excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So
anyway, hey guys, thank you so much for enjoying for watching and enjoying the Enjoy Loudoun podcast with Caleb Max, entrepreneur, business owner, candidate for the U.S. Congress, and all around awesome guy. So, Caleb, thanks so much for joining me. Blessings on you and your run, and we just wish you Godspeed and all the best.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
See ya.